Good morning, I'm Roland Martin. Today on NewsOne Now, the NAACP's journey for justice has reached Washington, D.C. They keep the pressure on Congress to move when it comes to the Voting Rights Act. Killed in custody, we have the shocking new video of Natasha McKenna being restrained with a stun gun by jailers in the event that led to her death. And you'll hear her pleading, "I don't want to die here in jail." We'll preview what you can expect from the GOP debate tonight. Also, the authors of the book, Angel Whispers, join me to explain how angels send messages to those of us still here on Earth. Also, the annual Congressional Black Caucus jumps off today. We'll share 3 apps that will help you network and keep up with your friends there. Plus, Yolanda Adams is going to be on America's Got Talent tonight on NBC. I chatted with her about that. It's time to bring the funk on NewsOne Now and TV1. NAACP marchers arrived in Washington, D.C. yesterday on the Journey to Justice March, which started August 1st in Selma, Alabama. More than 1,000 miles later, they reached the steps of the Lincoln Memorial here in the nation's capital. The goal of the march is very simple: to bring attention to a number of issues facing the black community, namely the issue of voting rights. The whole point is to put pressure on Congress to move to restore provisions of the Voting Rights Act that was wiped out by the Supreme Court decision just 2 years ago. On today, there will be a meetings on Capitol Hill. They'll be meeting with members of Congress, and they'll also be pushing them on the issue of trying to move on this particular issue. There are a number of folks who they'll be meeting with, including Dick Gregory and also Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, she also met them as they got to the nation's capital. And so we'll give you more details on the NAACP's march as they move forward. You'll see the photo there as Bernie Sanders, Congressman G.K. Butterfield, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and also Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. Folks, a story out of Virginia that is stunning, and that is the death of Natasha McKenna. Listen to these haunting words of McKenna just days before she was shocked to death while in custody in the Fairfax County, Virginia Sheriff's Office.
You promised that you wouldn't kill me. I didn't do anything.
You hear her say that she does not want to die. She said, quote, "You promised that you wouldn't kill me. I didn't do anything." Folks, she was shocked 4 times by deputies who were wearing hazmat suits. And this total time of the video is 48 minutes. In the video, McKenna appears nude for at least 23 minutes until a nurse is called to take her vitals. She eventually became unresponsive, and emergency crews tried to revive her with CPR. McKenna, 37 years old, was mentally ill and was arrested in January for assaulting a police officer. Joining us right now on our panel, Michelle Bernard, CEO of the Bernard Center for Women, Politics, and Public Policy, with Michael Lee Pope, Virginia reporter, and also Orlando Watson, the Republican National Committee spokesman and communications director for Black Media. This is an unbelievable story. It's got lots of attention on social media. A lot of folks have been trying to understand how this happened. What do you make of this? First of all, you've been covering this story. And so how do we even arrive at this particular point?
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Natasha McKenna was involved in a series of disputes with law enforcement officers. She ended up at the Fairfax County Jail, but she faced charges in a different jurisdiction in Alexandria. So the sheriff's deputies in Fairfax were trying to get her out of the Fairfax Jail and into a transportation vehicle and over to Alexandria, but she was not being cooperative. She suffered from schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and depression. And so she was resisting very forcefully the deputies trying to get her over to Alexandria. She had this extended physical dispute with the Fairfax officials, lasted about 20 minutes. It ended with the Fairfax County Sheriff's deputies shocking her with a Taser stun gun on 4 separate times. She was restrained. She was handcuffed when she was hit with the Taser stun gun. and she died shortly after that.
Okay, here's what I'm trying to understand. What I'm trying to understand is, was she fighting them in jail? Was she? And also, why are they in hazmat suits?
So they look like
Because she
hazmat.
was black. They were scared it might rub off on them.
I'm just what? So
I mean,
you say those are not hazmat suits?
Well, so they certainly look like hazmat suits, and I think operationally they do something similar. In the jail, they call them CERT, which is the acronym that stands for Sheriff's Emergency Response Team. So this is sort of
Shelley, pull a video. Go right ahead. I just want to show the video again. Go ahead.
shocking video. It's very difficult to watch. And you see them here in the video. They're wearing these white suits. They certainly look like hazmat officers. Again,
but what I'm trying to figure out, first of all, you got several people here. I'm trying to figure out how that number of people could not restrain one woman.
Look, why is she naked? And why was she naked for at least 23 minutes, we know from the video? Why did they have to shock her 4 times? It seems to me that if they had a physician, they could have knocked her out with some sort of medication, intravenous, some sort of IV medication, and knocked her out. She had schizophrenia. She had all of the problems that you were talking about. It doesn't mean that she should end up dead. They could have put her to sleep and sent her to the proper jurisdiction for prosecution.
Have they said why she was naked? What, did she strip? Did they strip her?
I believe she was naked. I think the account, the narrative of what happened is that she was uncooperative for the entire time that she was in the jail. So she was, throwing urine, and I think she was naked inside of the cell when the CERT team came to get her. You mentioned, possible things that you don't see in this video. One thing you do not see in this video is any mental health professional. They're on the scene. They knew that she suffered from schizophrenia, and yet there is no mental health professional on the scene. I asked the sheriff about that this week, and she said that was a mistake, and we've now changed our policy.
But she's gone.
Yeah, but she's dead.
She's dead.
I mean, that's what's crazy.
Exactly. And who else is that going to happen to? As they continue to figure out what to do, there should have been a physician there. There should have been a mental health professional there. And there was no reason for her to end up dead. They're wearing gloves, these hazmat suits. It's appalling to me. It's as if they thought some blackness disease was going to rub off on them.
I've seen other jails where they have emergency response team, and typically they are in bulletproof vests. There are things. I've never seen something like that. I'm just trying.
And that's the other thing. That's what So when you talk about what else is missing, you're right. There's no gun. There's no knife. She's not wielding some sort of weapon against. How many people did we see in the video? 5 people? 5 people it took to restrain somebody that had no weapons?
So the use of 5 people, as best I understand it, is 1 person to sort of knock her down and 4 people to grab a hold of each of her limbs. That's the sort of logic behind using 5 in these.
Right, which again, I mean, this is not. Looking at this again, and please roll the video. From the beginning, please, from the beginning. Not just that one. I want to see the beginning of the video. I want to see when they were actually going into her cell. So we're not talking about somebody who is superhuman. So please go to right. This is what I'm trying to understand here. As I'm looking at this, shield. Okay, I got this number of people. I'm just still trying to get this whole notion of that many people and decision to shock her. Then they decide not to charge anybody. So was there an actual investigation? Was there actual assessment of what took place?
So there was an investigation done by the Fairfax County Police Department who investigated the sheriff's office, totally separate organizations we're talking about here. The sheriff oversees the jail. The police department investigated the sheriff's office. They did not file any charges, and they kept their investigation secret. Also, I tried to get it from them. They did not want to release it. They also didn't want to release this videotape for a very long period of time. Then the prosecutor conducted his own investigation and decided at the end of that investigation that he would not be bringing any charges. His conclusion, by the way, was that she did not die because of the Taser shock. You said at the beginning of the show that she died sort of conclusively because of the Taser shock. The prosecutor disagrees with that. He says her cause of death was a combination of her mental illness and the physical exertion that she was clearly demonstrating in this video.
Whoa.
Physical exertion.
Right. Well, so basically he's saying, okay, she's schizophrenic, and because of a struggle that she put up with the jailers, that's what caused the death?
After she said, "You promised you wouldn't kill me."
Okay, well, first of all, was there a medical examiner ruling of cause of death?
There was, and the medical examiner determined that she died of something called excited delirium. This is a very controversial designation, and there's actually lots of doubt as to whether or not this actually exists.
Does it exist anywhere outside of Virginia?
Excited delirium.
Excited delirium was listed as the cause of death on the
So what? Because of the situation, her vitals were so elevated, it just overwhelmed her brain and her heart, and she died?
So the medical examiner and the prosecutor on this issue of excited delirium.
Yeah, let me Google excited. Go ahead. Let me try to look up.
Well, Roland, when you Google it, you'll find out it's a very controversial designation. And so basically, in the prosecutor's report, he sort of lays this out, which is that because she suffered from mental illness and she was exerting herself physically at such a pace that it did, in fact, raise her vitals, raised her temperature, and that was the cause of her death. Again, the prosecutor's conclusion in his lengthy report was that she did not die because of the taser, the 4 taser shocks. She was tasered 4 times while handcuffed.
Look, this looks like an enormous civil rights violation to me, an 8th Amendment violation under the Constitution, and I hope there's going to be some federal oversight. It took one cop to knock down James Blake, and I'm assuming he wasn't wearing a hazmat because James Blake is biracial, and it took 5 people to do this to this woman and kill her. It is an atrocity.
On the issue of the federal investigation, although the
so we're talking about a woman who weighed 130 pounds. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. That's it.
181 pounds, I think.
Well, according to this Washington Post story,
maybe I read
she weighed 130 pounds.
This is a slight woman, 5'4". This is a small woman. In any event, you mentioned potential federal investigation. Although the Fairfax County prosecutor will not be bringing charges, there is an ongoing federal civil rights investigation. So this story's not over yet, and there actually may end up being some sort of action.
According to, I want to go to you, Orlando, in 1 second. According to this Washington Post story, this is from May 6th, 2015. According to Amnesty International, this excited delirium has been cited in 75 of the 330 deaths following police use of a taser on suspects between 2001 and 2008. That's according to Justin Mazzola, a researcher for the organization. And the Washington Post, quote, found more than 24 other examples in which excited delirium was cited in custody death. I mean, this is a type of case, Orlando, where folks in the Black Lives Matter movement have been forcing officials to have to address. And the reality is, I don't see anybody else out there who's forcing these people to say, wait a minute, you got to explain this stuff. To come up with this excited delirium, which I'm still trying to understand medically.
Me too.
I mean, this is why you have to have external forces demanding accountability of police and jailers.
Absolutely.
That's right. So I think one thing, the images that you showed earlier, that video, it's disturbing, and her death is a tragedy. But it goes to show the failures of government, not just at the federal level or the state level, but the local level. And so you're absolutely right, Roland, when you say that we need to hold our politicians accountable at all levels of government if we truly want to bring about any sort of real change.
Well, I mean, it's not just holding them accountable. When you see something like this, and I am waiting for someone to explain to me how it's not murder, whether in first degree intentional or not, how we allow and continue to allow what looks like state-sanctioned killings of unarmed African Americans, and the world is not going apoplectic. This makes absolutely no sense.
But also, again, and Michael can explain this, what the Post story says that first of all, she supposedly attacked an Alexandria officer. Alexandria officers failed 3 times to pick her up. She's in this jail. They were supposed to pick her. She arrived on January 26th. They failed to pick her up 3 times, and then that's when that's when deputies in the Fairfax County Sheriff's Office decided to say we're going to transfer ourselves.
Yeah, well, the story of this woman's final months is very tragic. I mean, it actually begins in January with a series of interactions with law enforcement officials in Fairfax County and Alexandria and Springfield. and she has run-ins with them. You know, at one point she enters a stranger's car and tries to strangle herself with a seatbelt. In another event, she goes into a car rental place and has a dispute with them. She ends up getting involved in a dispute with Alexandria police officers. She punches them, she kicks them, she bites them. So she's facing charges in Alexandria, but the folks in Alexandria were trying to get her help. She didn't want help. She ended up in the Fairfax County Jail, but she faced charges in Alexandria, a neighboring jurisdiction. So what was going on here the day of this tragic event was that the officers, the deputies there in Fairfax County Jail were trying to get her out of the Fairfax County Jail and into the Alexandria Jail so she could face charges there.
Well, what's so unbelievable with this Post story, that excited delirium is almost exclusively used
in custody
in
death.
police force cases.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, there's a cause of death when it's typically only in these particular cases.
Exactly.
All right, unbelievable.
State sanctioned.
Unbelievable. Michael, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Folks, coming up, we'll preview tonight's GOP debates. This is going to be the Donald Trump reality show. What will Ben Carson do as well? Plus, we'll talk with Tech Life expert Stephanie Humphrey about how to network your way around Congressional Black Caucus. Plus, do you believe in angels? I'll chat with an angel whisperer about messages our ancestors have for the living. It is 16 after the hour. NewsOne Now on TV1.